Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of Yu Yu Hakusho Season 1 on Hulu. And I got kind of like a free trial thing that I'm trying to burst through this show from my childhood that I really enjoyed. And I watched it on Toonami, and granted, this is gonna date me and make me an old ass motherfucker, but shit's not given and all that. And it like shifted to like the nighttime because Yu Yu Hakusho got fucking crazy ass intense, and I'd like record it on like VHS so that way I could watch it later. Now we've moved to digital stuff with everything going on with that, which actually works better with certain instances with what I need. But they never fucking finished it. They stopped after the Dark Tournament kind of thing. And, well, not completely after it. They got a little bit into, like, the third part where there was something going on with, like, a rogue spirit detective or whatnot. And I never got to finish it. And it always pissed me off because I was always kind of into this show. So, it was awesome to be able to kind of, like, get back into this and kind of see how it holds up and see if I kind of remember everything going on, because I know I was like, man, this Dark Tournament arc, we got through a lot of stuff, and then it's like, you fucking stopped it? Why? Just like how they did with like Rurouni Kenshin. I guess it got too crazy and shit, and I'm like, it's already on at night. What else do you want? So, of course, the first season, it's pretty much an introduction to everything going on with like being a spirit detective. We are introduced to our main character of Yusuke Urameshi, who is a delinquent that pretty much is almost always in asshole mode. Now granted, he's not like an asshole to everybody, but he falls into that delinquent kind of stereotype that actually kind of works into the favor of kind of like JoJo's. Like, it's really kind of weird because some issues I had with certain JoJo seasons, I kind of have coming up in this as we get more into the fighting. So, he's pretty much doing his thing. He gets out of school and whatnot, but he starts playing with this kid, of course, entertaining him and all that. So he's not a complete asshole to everybody. He understands kids. His mom pretty much had him when she was young, and the father's not in the picture, and she pretty much parties and drinks and everything like that, so he doesn't have a really good home life. He doesn't really like the stuff that goes on at school because he doesn't really care about it, and only one teacher kind of like is alright with dealing with him, and then the rest of the time he pretty much goes and gets into fights and everything. And we also are introduced to kind of like his main rival, Kuwabara, who's another kind of delinquent kind of dude who's got his own group, and of course they're into fighting and everything like that. Now granted, not like horrible fighting. They don't go out and like beat up children or elderly people to take money from them. They do it more as more kind of like Dragon Ball kind of martial arts tournament stuff in kind of present day kind of scenario where they like try and test their mettle against each other. Well, Yusuke's playing with that kid, and he's like, hey, don't play with near this street, man. It's not safe. But of course the kid's kind of kicking his ball, goes to get it, and Yusuke, of course, dives in to save the kid and dies in the process. But then he gets introduced to Botan, who is the Grim Reaper, is like, you actually weren't supposed to die today. And that actually the dude was going to swerve and nobody would have died, but because you exercised your free will and shit like that, acting out in pretty much a way that nobody within the spirit world would have thought you would do, you fucking died. And he's like, yeah. And he then gets introduced to the person that is in charge of these kind of things, Koenma, who's the son of King Yama, the dude that rules over all this stuff. And of course we get introduced to like the concept of the spirit world and all that. And he's like, alright, fine. I'll let you go back to life if you take this egg. It's got a spirit beast in it. It's gonna pretty much absorb the energy. If you're a cool ass motherfucker, it'll come out, help your ass get back into your body. If you're a bad motherfucker and do negative energy, the thing will come out, eat your ass, and then you're done. Fuck. And Yusuke's like, alright, I get that, you fucking toddler motherfucker. And of course, because Koenma is like the size of a toddler and has a pacifier and shit, and of course he didn't like that, so of course we got friction with them. So then we see pretty much Yusuke pretty much dealing with the aftermath. He's like, I don't really... At first, he didn't even really want to do it. He's like, fuck it, I didn't give a shit that much about it anyway. And he's trying to... Because Botan gave him kind of like a choice at first and been like, hey, you kind of want to get back to life? He's like, I don't give a shit. And then he sees that his mom's mourning him. Kuwabar is mourning him. Of course, the girl, Keiko, which he has that kind of usual kind of relationship where she doesn't really nag on him. She's trying to get him to not be a dillweed. To pretty much be like, hey, stop doing this stupid shit. And he of course, fucks with her like, hey, look at your skirt and shit like that. Being a pervy motherfucker. And he gets affected, and of course, he accepts the thing, tries to see what's going on. He then tries to see how everything kind of goes. His body pretty much gets into a state where it's like in suspended animation to, of course, give time for the spirit beast, do its shit. But it gets into a point where, like, this arsonist dude is running around, like, setting fire to houses. Of course, starts to pick on, like, chooses fucking Yusuke's, and Keiko has to try and get him out, and of course he has this moment of sacrifice. He can throw the spirit beast egg into the fire to save Keiko, but then he doesn't get back into his body. He's like, yeah, fuck it. He doesn't even really hesitate that much, does it? She gets out, and Kuwabara helps her, and the thing is, Konoma's like, yeah, it's pretty good you did that, because that thing was pretty much going to eat your ass. It's like, alright. He's like, alright, we'll think of something else. He then has to pretty much use his abilities to kind of talk with Keiko and Kuwabara, because Kuwabara is very sensitive to the spirit world and has that kind of like own thing with it. And he at first is like, I ain't fucking doing that shit. And Keiko, of course, kind of gets it, but Koenma pretty much does this thing. He's like, alright, we're getting the wavelengths between your spirit and your body. It needs to happen at this time by midnight. Otherwise, you gotta wait 52 years. So, fuck it, whatever. Keiko is able to do it. We get, of course, that kind of drawn-out bit of, like, will she get it in time? It's really kind of weird because on the surface, it doesn't sound bad, but this very much falls into a lot of pacing issues. Mainly when we get into, like, the fighting aspects, and then reused animation things. Like, I don't mind if it's... if you need to reuse something because it's important later on, or it helps to save animators. But when you get to a certain point when certain things are actually just pretty much copy and pasted, and you actually see the same kind of attacks and stuff happening over and over again, you're like, alright. And it really takes down the ability to get invested in the fights. It's really kind of weird because I really enjoyed this as a kid, and I still enjoyed this here, but it did a lot of stuff of like, okay, you're kind of dragging some shit on with this. So, Keiko kisses him, he gets up, and then he is tasked by Koenma to be Spirit Detective of Earth. Of course, Botan will be his liaison. He's able to find this like dude who is threatening to kill Kuwabara's cat, little kitten, and he is possessed by this demon, and of course Yusuke's more... I say more in tune than he kind of was, but not to the level that, like, Kuwabara would be able to be in tune with. Because he sees that this kid's got horns and stuff and was possessed by a demon. Botan kind of, like, racks him up to all that before he gets into his first spirit case, where Koenma's in trouble because some demons stole some shit from the vault. He's like, if I don't get this shit back, my dad's gonna fucking spank my ass. It's like, alright, I will help you with this, good sir. I will help you with this. But it's mainly because... one sword turns people into demons. One orb allows you to steal the souls of children. Like, and then the Forlorn Hope Mirror allows you to, like, do any wish you want, but it will exact a heavy price. Somehow these help keep balance within the universe. I don't see how that works, but okay. You know what I mean? Because that's kind of like one of the lines they had, and I'm like, the fuck? So... Yusuke follows and is able to find the dude that is stealing the souls of children, and he at first gets his ass kind of beat, and he's like, Botan, what am I able to do? How long do I have before those souls are digested? Like, about a day. He's able to find him again, And the thing is, he's able to use like his amped up spirit gun because he's able to like channel his spirit energy into a blast from his fingertip, which was actually pretty cool. I mean, granted, you can kind of link it up to other kind of like shonen anime that use kind of similar ones, but since this was kind of like one of the big ones around that time, it was an interesting kind of one to be like, oh, okay, you actually use a finger gun to pew pew. And it's really kind of good because they do differentiate a lot on the abilities because as we see Yusuke kind of power on, he does shift into other kind of things. Of course, Kuwabara gets his own, and then the other kind of people that pop up into their group also come in as well. And Yusuke pretty much like is able, this dude is like armored, not armored, but like tough as fuck. So he shoots him in the mouth, kills him, is like, yeah, eat me. He then shifts to the next one, which is a kid named Kurama, who is actually a spirit box who was like chased and injured and went into pretty much this woman's body and became kind of like a kid, and she of course is dying, and he wants to use the forlorn hope to save her life. And Yusuke's like, alright, I like that, but I'm not going to let you do your life. And he pretty much is like, I'll do it for myself. Because why would you make sure that your mom's alive and you're dead? He's already seen that. Now, granted, Yusuke is not the greatest of thinkers. Now, granted, he isn't on a level of, like, Goku level stupid that they sometimes make Goku, but he's not really thinking here of, like, okay, yeah, you're helping one mom not lose a son, but then you're going essentially back to where you were in the beginning of the series where your mom was like fucking like miserable before and even more miserable after you died. But the forlorn hope is like, yeah, you guys are cool, I'm gonna give you this as a freebie and we be good. It's like, alright. So Kurama's like happy that his mom's alive, and the thing is, he's not really an asshole. He's like, I just pretty much use those motherfuckers to do my own thing. We then shift to Hiei as the last one. Very much fits into the Vegeta asshole kind of placement, even though Kuwabara is more the Vegeta rival that Goku has later on in Dragon Ball. But he's like, yeah, fuck you, Yusuke, and pretty much takes Keiko hostage and like cuts her with the sword. She's about to like turn into a demon with her Jagan eye, and he is like going all fast and everything because he wants the other kind of objects because he could rule the world with it. Make an army of demons, feed them with the soul orb, and do something with the forlorn hope, I guess. It's not really... That's a problem that keeps running up a little bit. Not all of the motivations are clearly delineated for what's going on. It's not a complete problem because there's at least a little something there, but not as much as I would like. But Yusuke is able to use his smarts and deflect a shot and take his ass out. And of course, he and Kurama are brought to the spirit world to deal with their kind of consequences. And then we kind of see them kind of later on. Then we shift to an arc where we fit that Yusuke is given his next task of finding Rando the Human Hunter. This dude who's gone after like psychics to acquire their power. And the thing is, I like Mystery Science Theater 3000, and one of the things they hit with one of their movies is like the Amazing Rando, and I'm like, sweet Jesus, I could not get that out of my head with this arc. I'm like, holy shit. So, in order to find him, Yusuke pretty much is going to this person, Genkai, who is a psychic that is trying to look for their next apprentice to pass on their spirit wave technique, because she's old and is going to die and wants her legacy to live on and in that teaching. Yusuke pops up, and Kuwabara pops up because he's like, I've been seeing and dealing with some freaky-ass spirit stuff. Hopefully she can help my ass. And, of course, a lot of people want to learn her technique, but only it keeps getting whittled down because of the spiritual potential. First, it was just finding a red piece of paper, then dealing with, like, what their, like, different kind of stats are, and then we see one where it's like, Yusuke's not going to make it, but he, like, beat a fucking demon bat dude, and Genkai's like, alright, fine, you'll come. Then we get more into what's going on with the tournament, as people are kind of fighting and all that, and you're probably like, who could Rando be? And the thing is, this is at a point in time where you're like, okay, it's either going to be the scruffy-looking motherfucker, or that clean-ass, squeaky-looking, like, Krillin-looking motherfucker right there. It's the Krillin-looking motherfucker right there. I don't mind either or being that kind in that kind of situation. It's just do a little bit more work to kind of massage that to make it be like, okay, it in your execution of how it goes. But we see that Kuwabara beefs up his power ability and is able to summon, of course, a spirit sword, which becomes pretty cool because this one dude kind of broke his sword and he allowed him to be able to do that and to kind of like work his way through it. And see, when you start getting into these fights, they kind of get drawn out to like 2 episodes or whatnot sometimes, when like one would have really done it. It really falls into next time on Dragon Ball Z kind of thing, where things get drawn out to an absurd degree. Now granted, not completely on the level of certain Dragon Ball Z things where it takes fucking long ass episodes to power up. Granted, I'm a fan of Dragon Ball and I acknowledge those faults. Alright? They're problems, and I will not say that they're good. I mean, it's fun to see people power up and stuff like that, but, like, there are issues. This isn't even my final form. It's like, shit, I don't mind it, but when it feels like it's dragging out the fight, and I'm like, this could have been done 30 damn episodes ago, and I'm still here seeing somebody grow long-ass nose hairs, we got an issue. I did not even imagine that I would be making a Bobo reference. Holy fucking shit, I can't believe I had that one. Anyway, we don't really see the problems reach a gigantic magnitude, but it really kind of pops up here, not in the beginning fights, but when you get into the kind of long fights, because you see that it gets down to the point where you got Yusuke, Kuwabara, and of course Rando in his human form, but he fights Kuwabara and acts like a complete dillweed and pretty much crushes and severely injures Kuwabara, even though Genkai is able to kind of like heal him up. We do get Yusuke doing some interesting kind of battle tactics to beat this dumb motherfucker, but they're able to kind of take his ass out, and Genkai's like, hey, I'm training your ass, motherfucker. So he then pretty much trains with her for like 6 months, and Keiko and like Botan are like, hey, it took you a fucking long time, and like, he's not... Here's where a pacing issue pops up. I don't mind a lot of action, alright? I'm good with making sure that a plot moves along at a brisk pace. But we keep going bump, bump, bump. We don't really have a lot of downtime in here. And it was really kind of weird because I'm like, man, you would think that there would be more, because he like hit his first case, hit his second case, then we start pretty much getting immediately into the third case. He's like back for not even like a day. We don't get any kind of like palate cleansing breathing room, and I definitely think that you kind of need those in shonen anime. Otherwise you get battle fatigue, because they have to draw out, and they kind of try and put those palate cleansers in with kind of like fights that don't have really big stakes at all, but that just keeps more of the battle fatigue going on. But we see that people start acting kind of weird. It's like, what the fuck's up with these zombie things? We got these bugs that are coming from Spirit World because the 4 Saint Beasts are trying to take over the human world, but they are locked in this place. So Koima's like, Yusuke, go do this. Kuwabara's like, fuck, I'm gonna do this too. And jumps in, and of course they are sent back up in the form of Hiei and Kurama. And it's kind of cool to see Kurama really wasn't a villain. He was more of an antagonistic force in that he was doing something that was bad, but he wasn't really out to actually hurt anybody. Hiei was full-on dick-swinging, I'm a bad guy, but now he's kind of okay. They really kind of temper him. That's another kind of issue that you kind of get. The Dragon Ball Z of, okay, you get your past villains to become kind of like your allies, and you have to work on that, and you kind of need more room to execute that. Now here, they still do it in a alright fashion. It's not like Hiei goes all sunshine and roses and fucking like, yeah, yeah, yeah. He's like, I will kill you if I need to, and let you die if I have to. He ain't having it. He's like, I could fucking go here and do all this shit myself, but whatever. And now, granted, he isn't that sassy. He's more in the Vegeta mode of like, fuck you. they of course have to deal with some shit, and of course build their team bonds where Yusuke decides to pump out some spirit energy to like keep a giant roof from falling on them, and he is able to kind of like fuck with this floating eyeball thing to make sure it tells him about a trap that's coming at his ass before he slices his eye. But they kind of get into effect. They start going after him. Kurama fights Genbu first, which is this rock-looking motherfucker, which we definitely see the copy and pasting of like reused animation going on. But it's a kind of alright fight. It's not the kind of best one that we've got. And Kurama gets seriously injured, so he kind of gets put in the back burner of what's going on. We then see the Byakuyo one, and that one is Kuwabara taking his ass on, and it's like, It was an interesting one because he could absorb spirit energy, and the thing is, Kuwabara just like, whatever, motherfucker, and just fucking feeds him until he pretty much like discombobulates and like falls down. And then we see him in the lava again, and Kuwabara pretty much uses a new way for his sword to kind of like use as a pole vault, and then just like kicks him into like lava. The one that I think is like kind of the best balance is when Hiei fights Seiryu, where it doesn't take that long. He kills Byakuyo because he's like, fuck you, you dumb fuck. You let them through and you fell in lava. And then he somehow still survived. But Hiei's able to use his advanced speed and everything to pretty much take the dude out and cut him. And it's like, it was a very effective way to show how good of a fighter Hiei was, because he got a little bit frozen, but he didn't get seriously injured or anything, and was able to take out his beast in a pretty effective fashion. So it's like, alright, cool. Then we just have the last one of Suzaku as the main one, and he's just like a thunder douche. If I could be with you, it's like, yeah, we kind of just want to be in the human world and to get out of this, and is using this kind of whistle thing as Botan is trying to keep Keiko alive because he's looking into Yusuke's shit. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna send them after to kill Keiko, and they kind of do a run around his school and pretty much are used to like amp up Yusuke, as we see different kind of like, not many different techniques, but this like torment of pain kind of thing with like this lightning thing going on. And Yusuke is showing some of his newer stuff, like his shotgun, which was actually pretty cool. He's built up his ability, because at first he could only use the spirit gun like once a day because of his spirit energy reserves. Now he starts using it a lot of times. He's able to use the shotgun to do multiple blasts, which helps him take out Suzaku's clones, as we start to see that kind of going on. But he gets to a point where he's got like no energy left, and instead uses his life energy and pretty much uses that to pretty much take out Suzaku. And it's like, alright, good, because it's a big-ass blast. The thing is, the other three stayed behind to fight these cultivated humans, which are essentially like fucking, you know the Johnny Depp, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie? I am making some random-ass motherfucking references today, but it continues to my point where they pretty much just copy and pasted one dude as an Oompa Loompa throughout the whole thing. That's what they did here with the cultivated humans. It's like, alright. Now, I don't need a amazingly detailed fucking character for each cultivated human. But when they're doing the exact same thing, and I understand time saving and cost saving and everything like that, but it's just like, alright, I noticed that kind of pulling me out. But Yusuke pretty much did that. Kuwabara decides to kind of like put his spirit energy in him to make sure that Yusuke doesn't fucking die. And then they come out. It's like, alright. Alright, that's kind of cool. Now, they got everything good. Keiko's alright. Botan kind of explained what's going on with her, with everything going on. And then we shift to the next part. The last one that I'm going to hit, because this show's delineation of seasons is complete and utter fucking nuts. So I'm doing pretty much like the first 25 episodes, because they are divided up into some pretty nice arcs that I can actually kind of like get through in a timely manner. Now we get into the one where we see that this ice apparition, Yukina, who also happens to be the sister of Hiei, but actually they don't have the same mother. We don't learn that till the end of the arc. Is being used by this criminal overlord, Tarukane dude. who uses, because she can cry, and those will solidify into very rare jewels that he could then sell and everything. And he's a complete dickweed. Actually killed a dude who tried to help her escape. And Kuwabara sees the tape that Koenma kind of sent, and they're trying to keep Hiei as out of the loop as possible. Kuwabara then completely falls in love and is like, I'm going to do this for my love. Even though he'd been, like, trying to hit on Botan, he's, like, really smitten with her. And he's like, okay, cool. So they decide to go off. It's, like, in the mountains and whatnot. We also see that Kuwabara's, I believe, older sister is very in tune with the spirit world as well, because she was able to see what was going on with the video. Because Koenma said, like, yeah, anybody not in tune with the spirit world is not going to understand what's going on with this. So they kind of go off. They start, like, beating wholesale ass. This was an interesting arc because this is the kind of palate cleanser I was talking about, where it's less action intensive, because we see that Yusuke and Kuwabara have pretty much gotten to a place where they are kind of confident in their abilities and are just beating wholesale ass, because we are introduced to the Toguro brothers, because they were pretty much brought in for security for the place and to make Yukina cry. And they are like demons, part of the apparition gang, and they've got like big beefy demons, but these people are like taking them out like ain't nobody's business. It then goes into this like fucking gigantic thing where Terukune is pretty much confident in the Toguro brothers' skills to try and use his Black Club, which is just a group of people that bet a lot of money on stupid shit. And evidently he founded it. They're like black market asshole dickweeds. And he's trying to pretty much take all their money. But this one dude, Psycho, pretty much fucks all that shit up because he's secretly got the Toguro brothers in his pocket behind the back and is going to take all the money for Terukune. And we see this as he's pretty much betting on the intruder to completely beat all wholesale ass. So we see them go through the low-level grunts. Then we see that there's like this triad, which I had a problem with, because I don't mind the second, like the last two ones, but we see this like one chick that is introduced, and Kuwabara's like, we can't hit a chick, man. That's out of my honor code. And then we see how like Yusuke's like, I don't care if you're a girl, baby, or grandma, I'll fight you. And it was interesting at first to see that go down. How they're talking about that. However, it gets fucking nuts as shit, because Yusuke then pretty much, instead of attacking the woman, gropes her, and it's like, okay, Kuwabara's like, tell Keiko about that. I'm like, okay, you said you didn't care about it, but you checked anyway? And we find out that they have both male and female parts, and that Yusuke is pretty much almost all the time, as we're seeing, punching her in the tit. And it's just really fucking weird. I'm like, you're not really showcasing this very well. It was just really awkward, and I don't know what they were trying to kind of accomplish. I understand, at least in the beginning, that they were just trying to show that like Yusuke would fight anyone that is going to be like an opponent against him, no matter what, if they were trying to stop them from doing something, like rescuing a person that is captured. Like, if they had shown a better battle where like Yusuke was like actually trying to fight this person and like not fucking punching her in the tit, like that was pretty much the main kind of hits that he was doing. It's like, alright, it was just really kind of weird and uncomfortable. I'm like, is this supposed to be funny? Because they put up like almost no discernible challenge whatsoever. It was really kind of weird. I'm like, why are you in this anyway? And then the other two, they have a little bit of trouble with, but like not enough to kind of write home about. It was just, okay. I wouldn't have minded if you'd been like, okay, here's a woman, and then having to see Yusuke kind of fight it out. And I'm like, alright. It just was a really weird kind of part for them to put it on, because it was not clear what their intent was for what was going on. It was just really weird. And I think that they could have handled it a lot better. Well, they were able to get past the triad, and of course it starts getting to the point where they're going to face the Toguro brothers. And we've seen that they've been utilizing their spirit energy a lot, but they're not like really tired or anything. So they pop up and it's like, all right, cool. We got Yukino. We got Hiei in the background pretty much. We see that he got his Jagan Eye input so he could like watch over his sister and all that, which I get that. No, granted, I'm not like going out fucking being a weird ass criminal fugitive thing, but I understand that brother-sister kind of bond. And we see them fight the Toguro brothers, and it's really actually kind of short because they pretty much fake their defeat. And the one Toguro brother fucking kicks Tarukane's head fucking off. But they get Yukina out of there. She goes back to her ice kind of like realm. And Kuwabar's like, oh, that kind of sucks. Botan's like, hey, it's just a long-distance relationship. It's still kind of cute and okay. And Keiko gets more of a lowdown after this kind of arc. But we see that the Toguro brothers have faked their shit, and they're like, hey, we want to all-out fight them. So that sets up, of course, the Dark Tournament arc. That'll be the main focus of the next season that we'll kind of get into. So, let me see here. Yeah. That's a kind of good place to stop. I've already kind of watched a couple other ones, so I gotta watch out because there's like 112 episodes, and I gotta watch out where I fucking watch certain things because of bleed over effect. But that's kind of where it stops and is a nice kind of place to be like, okay, that's a nice season. We got his initial arc, we got his like first 3 cases and all that, and let's see, first 3. Hiei Kurama, Rando, Saint Beast, and then of course Yukina. 4 cases actually. I always forget the Rando one because it usually doesn't fucking interest me. Even though I more think of it as the Genkai tournament kind of shit because Rando doesn't really factor in that much. But I enjoyed it because Yusuke is an interesting character, and it was really kind of weird because I kind of got a little bit more into Kuwabar's character because he has his, of course, code of honor and everything. He had to pretty much deal with a teacher trying to force him into a situation where he would break a promise of not to fight back to certain things to make, otherwise it would negatively affect one of his crew, and he could not do that. And just seeing him do his kind of thing, I was like, okay, cool. Yusuke, of course, I still kind of like to see his kind of transition to being an actual decent human being, even though he still has that core of being decent because he was playing with that kid in the beginning, and just seeing that kind of grow and seeing his powers grow. So I definitely want to see how the Dark Tournament kind of changes in my mind as I view it this kind of second time, looking at it more critically and understanding kind of like how it kind of works and what I like in shonen anime and what I don't like in shonen anime. So that's going to be something to really look forward to. And then, of course, getting into the actual shit that I have not fucking seen yet because Cartoon Network and Toonami were like, you don't get this. And I'm like, why? I have done nothing. I have supported you. Why? But I'm happy that I'm able to kind of finally, hopefully try and finish this out and see kind of where it goes. And other than like pacing issues and just really weird shit put in there that was just weird for even the time, I think. I'm just like, alright, I'm still enjoying this. I'm still excited to kind of see what's going on. But I'm like, okay, there's definitely shit that kid me would have been like, what? I'm like, it's really weird because I'm watching this as my adult self and then almost kind of having a dialogue with my younger self of like, this happened, but like, did I fully grasp what was going on? I'm like, alright, I even think as a kid, I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? I don't know. So, we'll kind of see how this works out and how this goes, but, I would definitely recommend this to anybody, because who's into like action and all that and into different kind of things with like, the occult and spirit world kind of stuff, because it does have a very interesting take on that and seeing how it deals with that kind of mythology. No, granted, it does have some like issues and stuff like that, and of course we got a demon that's eating children's souls, so that would be scary for like younger people. And the animation style is not horrendous, but you can fucking tell it's from the 90s, and if you can't deal with that, I completely understand, and this really wouldn't be for you. So I completely get that. Otherwise, those are my opinions on the first season. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.